Emily, and today I'm here to bring you another Recent Reads video. And today, in a twist of events, I only have two books to talk to you about. And that's because the book that I'm currently reading, which would have been the third book, I've decided I'm going to make a separate video about it because I've had some ideas. So I'm just going to do the two books right now. So the first book that I finished recently was From Holmes to Sherlock, the story of the men and women who created an icon by Matthias Boström and translated from the Swedish by Michael Gallagher. And this is exactly what it says on the cover and what you might imagine based on the subtitle. It's a 600-page book that covers the entire history of the creation and legacy of Sherlock Holmes. It goes through all of the pastiches and the films and TV. It starts literally with Arthur Conan Doyle's life, and then it goes all the way up to the second season of Sherlock, the BBC show that came out a few years ago. And so Matthias is just going through all of the, remakes and pastiches. He's talking about how it became so popular. He talks about, of course, how Arthur Conan Doyle didn't really like Sherlock Holmes. He felt like it distracted from his greater ambitions to be a serious historical fiction writer, and he never achieved the kind of fame that he wanted to with those novels because everybody kept talking about that dang Sherlock Holmes guy. So yeah, it was a really interesting book. It does, as you might imagine, being 600 pages long, get pretty detailed, and sometimes it was kind of slow and repetitive, particularly because there's so many retellings of Hounds of the Baskervilles. Pretty much every TV show or series that did the Sherlock Holmes books did that one, so there's 6 or 7 retellings of it, which is a lot for one different story. So yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it though unless you're really interested in Sherlock Holmes because, again, 600 pages long, and it's got some pictures and things like that, but it's not most of it is words. And also, it's got really short chapters. This book has 111 chapters, and the last 95 pages of this book are notes. So really, it's a 500-page book of actual reading, which is still a lot, but that means there's a chapter almost every 5 pages, which again is a lot of chapters. So they're very short chapters, and in some ways it's easy to get through because of that, but it's still a really long read. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't really recommend it unless you are already really interested in Sherlock Holmes. And I'm actually thinking about making a video about this book for Murder Mystery Madness and talking about some of the more interesting details that I learned. But on the whole, yeah, it was a really good book. So yeah. The next book I finished, you've probably heard of, or at least seen around BookTube or in the world at large, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is actually my book club book, and I got to pick this book because I'm hosting this month, and when you host in our book club, you get to pick the book. And I picked this, A, because I'd heard so many people talking about it and I wanted to read it, and B, it felt like a book that the other ladies would enjoy. Last month we read the Alice Network, and the ladies really enjoyed that, so I decided to stick to the historical fiction theme and choose a book that covered a different era but that was still going to be interesting. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It is very unique in terms of historical fiction in general, although I know the format. So this book is about a reporter or a journalist named Monique, and what's her last name? Monique Grant, and she is chosen by this recluse movie star Evelyn Hugo to come and do an interview with her. And Monique doesn't know why she's been picked. She's low man on the poll at her place of employment. And her editor actually tries to talk Evelyn out of it. And Evelyn's like, no, it's Monique or nobody. So Monique goes over there and she meets Evelyn, and Evelyn starts telling her stories. And each segment is broken up by a husband. So each husband reflects a part of the book. And so you hear all about Evelyn's life starting from when she was like 15 years old. She married her first husband because he had gotten a job as like a lighting grip in Hollywood, and her ambition was to go to Hollywood. And she was like, hey, if I marry this guy, I'll get to go. So she marries that guy, goes to Hollywood, and then divorces him almost a year after they get married, because she starts getting famous in the studio system. And then she marries a series of movie stars, and each one gives her something in terms of her career, and she experiences different things with each one, and it's a really wonderful story. There's two spoilers, although the first one I don't know if it's actually a spoiler anymore, like I knew about it before I started it, but the second one is definitely a spoiler, like what happens at the very end, because you find out how Monique and Evelyn are connected, because they do have a connection. And so the first spoiler, you find out who Evelyn's love of her life is, and it is not who you would expect, and it's a really interesting love story, really beautiful love story, and both of the members of the love story, Evelyn and then her love, are very complex characters. They both have very big flaws, they're both very human, and this love affair is, well, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the love affair is broken up because of certain things, and Evelyn basically regrets that for the rest of her life, and you find out what happened and all that. So yeah, this was really interesting. I definitely recommend it if you're interested in historical fiction. Again, it's a very different kind of historical fiction in my opinion, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'm really glad I picked it for book club. And at the time of filming this, I haven't had book club yet. It's coming up this coming Saturday, and I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have a good discussion, and hopefully all the ladies liked it as much as I did. As for what I'm currently reading, the book that I'm thinking about making a separate video on is If Walls Could Talk, An Intimate History of the Home by Lucy Worsley. And I picked this up because over Christmas we watched Lucy Worsley's special on the history of Christmas carols, and I really enjoyed that, and I liked her previous two books that I've read, so I decided to go ahead and pick this up. This has been on my owned unread bookshelf for a while, so it seemed like a good time to pick it up. This is going okay. It's not as interesting as the other two books by her that I've read, mostly because I'm not super interested in the minutia of the house like she's portraying here, but it is making me think a lot about my nonfiction taste, and so I kind of want to do a video about that. So look out for that video. Hopefully I'll finish this by the weekend, and then I can film this over the weekend as well, before, probably the day after I host book club. So yeah, this is going pretty good, and I'm looking forward to talking more about it in my upcoming video about it. So that's all I've been reading lately. I have two more books after this that I'd like to get to in January. I'd like to get to The Hobbit for the Lord of the Readathon, and then I also would like to get to The Happiness Project by Gretchen and Rubin, which is a book that's been on my TBR for a while, my own unread TBR for a while. And then it'll be just February, and it'll be a whole other month of books to read. So yeah, I hope everybody's having a great day and you're reading some great books, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!